You're not a manager until you've had to fire someone. The management role is a completely different animal. As a manager, you're more of a counselor, you're more of a coach, a career coach.
This is the Future of the Future show. I am your host, Mateo Berbejillo. The transition from individual contributor to leader is one of the most underestimated shifts in a career. One day, your success is defined by your own output. The next, it's measured by how well others perform, grow, and navigate challenges. It raises tough, often unspoken questions. How do you let go of control? How do you lead people who used to be your peers? How do you balance results with empathy? And what does good leadership even look like when you are in the middle of figuring it all out? In this episode, we will explore that transition in depth, the identity shift, the hidden pressures, and the moments that shape how leaders think and act over time. To do that, we are joined by Jovan Brown, a technology leader with over a decade of experience driving quality engineering and leading teams in complex environments. Jovan brings a grounded, real world perspective on what it actually takes to grow into leadership, covering his mistakes, surprises, and the evolution of his leadership style. If you are stepping into leadership or already in it and questioning your approach, this conversation will give you a candid, experience driven lens on what the role really demands. Jovan, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Jovan, can you walk us through your story in technology? What pulled you initially, and what moments most shaped how you think about your career today?
Oh, okay, so my story, how I got to where I am and how and what kind of shaped, I guess, my philosophy around, leadership and just quality in general. Started my career um in software development actually. I've have over 10 years of development experience. I was a Java developer. And so I like to say that I've spent enough time on all sides of the software development lifecycle, which gives me a unique perspective of, the things that a developer goes through on their day to day, as opposed to in how to interact with quality and what quality means, from the lens of a developer. Um, so again, it gives me a unique perspective in that sense. The years I spent as a developer, viewing the task or role of what a quality engineer does has definitely changed um, as I transitioned into quality into QA. So I like to think that um, that perspective comes from having spent time on both sides of the aisle. Um, I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's another way to say it, but it does come from having, sharpened my sword again on both sides of the aisle and seeing things. The things that QA members go through are people who devote their lives to the pursuit of quality and engineering. Um, it's I wish developers could start their career off as QA and then move into development because and life would be great. I wish I had done that, right? I did it the opposite way, but hey.
Yeah, it works anyhow. So
Mhm.
tell us about that move, right? When you moved from individual contributor to leading others, what was the hardest adjustment and what surprised you most about the transition?
For me, the surprise was just, how different the role was. In my mind, I went into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be this, this guy who's always been technical, who's always, really been hands-on, and still doing my current job, just in a leadership role. But
Right.
the management role is a completely different animal. It's almost like a different career. Like And I almost would argue that you probably don't even need to have ever been, an individual contributor in that role to be a manager of people in that role. Of course, there's a benefit to it because then you know what what your team is going through, and you know how to kind of mitigate those things that they're going through. But the skills that it takes to be a manager is something that I learned while at Calendly through, a ton of training. Um, and again, the difference is that and I'm sorry, I've kind of lost track of the question, just rambling, but just to kind of, I guess, reiterate, to me, it feels as though it felt as though during that transition, what I was expecting to walk into. What I was expecting to walk into turned out to be something completely different and, a complete mindset shift. And do you want me to go into detail about what some of those things were or are
No, yeah,
or
let me ask you a follow-up question. So,
Mhm.
so looking back, how do you think your leadership style evolved, right? When you first got into it, what you're saying is,
Mhm.
okay, I think this is going to be me still being an individual contributor, doing my best, and also leading the team, right? And then you realize, like, no, wait, it's not about being an individual contributor. It's about something completely different. It's about managing the team and achieving success through them, right? Um, so tell us about that evolution and what changed for you as a leader and your beliefs in what works well and what doesn't when you're leading teams.
Um, so what changed is the way I looked at the picture. I was so hyper focused on my individual silo as an individual contributor that it didn't dawn on me that, yes, there was a bigger picture, but moving into a management role, that is the primary focus. It's about metrics, it's about team performance, it's about, placing individuals in the right piece of the puzzle. Things that, from a strategy perspective, you don't consider as an individual contributor. You find out on day one of being a manager, right? Um, and I feel as though that plays, a huge part in the mindset shift as well. Because as you're transitioning, you're still trying to go back to that individual contributor, role in your mind. It's hard to let go of the day-to-day task, especially if you're transitioning within the same company that you've been working as an individual contributor on, right? Um, I want to go into like the the personal impact that it has as a team member.
Yeah,
But I
you
don't
can
know
go
if
you can go there. So
like
you've said many times that it often feels like being a therapist, right? So what do you mean by that and how has that reality changed how you show up for your teams?
Yeah, yeah. You realize that as a manager, you're more of a counselor, you're more of a coach, a career coach,
Yep.
and that makes you a better manager. The better you are with people, the better you are as a manager for those people because you're able to see different people's personalities um, and people come to you with different things that they have going on in their lives and you have to incorporate all of that into your planning because how people show up on a day-to-day basis impacts their performance and their performance again goes into the metric that you then have to plan for it's a vicious circle, right?
Yeah.
Vicious cycle.
Yes, sir. So what do you think are some of the leadership challenges that people don't talk about enough, right? Especially when what matters is not just results, but people's growth and well-being.
Hmm. I don't think people talk about, I don't think people talk about how, that's a good question. That's a good question. Because the thing that I found most difficult with the transition that I think people don't talk about enough is just how much visual, what's what I'm looking for? Oh man, I'm not gonna have the best answer for this.
Visual? No, no. Just let me know. Tell me what you're thinking, and I will help you through it.
How important it is to provide visibility into, your team's productivity. Um,
Okay,
because
so how difficult it is to look at the team's productivity and then communicate that upwards as well?
right, right. So the importance of that as a manager,
Yeah,
because I feel as though that separates a good manager from a great manager.
yep,
In my experience, seeing managers who are great with their people, but then, no one really knows exactly what makes the team tick.
right.
Um, they're and so creating a story around exactly um again what the team is doing, how they're doing it, and the why behind what they're doing. I
Yep,
think, is something that from a top-down perspective, a senior manager looking at a manager is extremely valuable. And like as the longer I progress in my management experience, I'm realizing how important that is. Talking to again, more senior managers, them really just wanting the high level point, right? They're
yeah.
just like, you know, they don't really care. I'm not gonna say they don't care. They're not interested in the details. They just want the high level, and you need to give them a story that essentially paints that picture for them, so that they can take that story and then paint the picture for whoever it is that they're reporting
Yeah,
on. And yeah.
I
So
agree with
I
you.
think that's kind of
I agree with you. I agree. I like to say managers need to trust the data, right? And the story I like telling is when I first started leading teams, and I was asked about monitoring productivity, I was like, wait, I'm managing a team of attorneys. I know exactly how each of them is doing. We don't need to manage productivity. And they all of them are doing like different jobs. How am I supposed to measure productivity? Blah blah blah. I give them a whole speech on why it didn't make sense, etc., right? And then two things changed my mind. First, at some point in time, I said, "Oh, we need more people in my team," and the response was like, "You do. Show me the data.
yeah, exactly.
Show me productivity. Show me capacity. Show me utilization." And I'm like, crap, I'm not measuring anything. So there's no basis for my comment other than what's in my head, right? And the second
Right.
part, when it became very clear that I needed to have that data, was
Mhm.
also when I was doing appraisals for the first time, right? End of year, you're talking to your people and you're saying you're good, you are not that good, you're right. And then there are the subjective part of it, but there should be an objective part of it, right? And if you're not measuring anything, if you don't have that visibility, then you are not even being a good leader for your team because your feedback is not really complete.
Exactly. 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 You hit the nail on the head. You said it way better than I could have said.
No, no, but you said the important thing. I'm just picking up on where on the Giants' shoulder in this case your shoulders. But um, let me ask you this now.
hmm
For someone that is listening, right, and is stepping into their first leadership role, what will be your one piece of advice you wish been given early on, and one mistake you think new leaders should expect to make? Like it's okay, it's normal, it will happen.
Ooh. Always keep notes on your conversations that you have with your direct reports. Um, because anything can happen, and the onus is going to be on you to prove the conversations happened or did not happen. And the length, or the level of detail of your notes over the course of time that you've been taking notes is essentially your proof that your notes are factual.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. Um, what I started to do was just record all of my one-on-ones and then take the transcripts. And, we have AI now, use the transcripts to just summarize high level and then take those high level summaries and keep them in the doc for all of my direct reports. This way, again, when you're doing your reviews, you have solid, conversation to kind of go back on. And then also, the downside of all of that is if there is the case where you have to do a termination. I like to tell people that you're not a manager until you've had to fire someone because because that is a completely nerve-wracking, I mean it's horrible. It's horrible on the nerves. And
It is.
but it's something that comes along with the role, right? And you have to handle it in a very professional way. You have to have your ducks in a row. You have to, you know, um, you know, there are legal reasons why you have to work in the way that you work around terminations. And once you've gone through that, you know what to look out for. When it comes to managing your direct reports, so that you never have to go through a termination again, right?
Yeah.
You know how to
Yeah.
manage them correctly because there, again, you have to look at a termination. This is how I look at it. I'm not saying you have to, but I've since then I've looked at terminations as maybe there was something that I could have done as a manager that could have steered this direct report in a different direction and we wouldn't be here right now. Or maybe I could have steered them to, uh, another career. Maybe this wasn't the right fit for them.
Yep.
And it gets you thinking all the way back to the hiring process,
Yep.
and structuring the way you manage from that point of hiring. And so yeah, it's so many different things to think about in that transition from direct report to management that you just don't consider as a direct report.
Yeah. 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 But I love it. It's one of the you are not really a manager until you get someone out of because your role is to put the right people on the right seats, right? The right people on the bus, the right people on the right seats, and the wrong
Mhm.
people off the bus, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's it. If you do that right, if you get that part right, half of the game is won, right? Um, but it's very hard. It's so hard.
Hard.
And it's so hard that when you eventually make that decision and you think about it and then you go and and people were expecting maybe that from you, like, finally, you should have done this like ages ago, and you go like, oh, okay. But it doesn't make it any easier anyhow.
No.
So I love the advice. Joan, so alongside your tech leadership work, you also lead a brokerage, right? And how does
Yes.
running that business influence your thinking about leadership, accountability, and decision making?
So the growth in my real estate career has kind of followed suit with my professional career. Moving from individual contributor to management kind of gave me insight on, okay, the same principles with management and tech can be, utilized as a broker owner of a real estate brokerage. Moving from just a transactional agent over to, a managing agent, someone who, sets the strategy and priorities for the brokerage, which I own. It using those skills because they're all transferable. It's just the product is different, the thing that the people are working on is different. So I feel as though I'm utilizing my professional experiences to improve, essentially everything else I'm doing in my life, and the brokerage is just one, of a few things, yeah.
Now, you're also writing a book for real estate agents who work in real estate as a side job, right? How does
Yeah,
that connect to your belief that cross strengths matter, and why do you think leaders benefit from building skills outside their primary role?
I think all experience is experience. As you go through life, you pick up experiences that benefit the decisions that you make and anything that you apply them to. Um, The book itself is specific to people who are professionals in their day-to-day life, whether it be in tech, whether it be, a barber,
Yeah,
you're a professional. It's something that you do, and that's what you're known for technically, right? And then you pick up real estate as an additional stream of income. You pick up real estate as a hobby. Um, the book I'm writing is designed to help people who are interested in doing that streamline those processes on the real estate side so that you can be effective in real estate. If you want to, imply these skills across the board and become the best realtor in Georgia or wherever you're at, you can do that. But if you just want to sell one or two houses a year just to have vacation money, to get you over that hump, this is what my brokerage is for, to encourage people, the everyday person who is like, I've always wanted to do real estate, to just go ahead and do real estate. The investment is small, but the returns are, tenfold, right? Um, that's really it in a nutshell. And I go into, processes again, taking my experiences from my professional world in quality, creating strategy and process and quality, and then transferring all that knowledge over to real estate, creating strategy and quality and the real estate processes that I implement for my brokers, for my brokerage, is the goal with this book.
I love it. When are you planning to release this book?
Yesterday, but yeah, I'm in a state of, and I'm just being completely honest. I'm in a state of analysis paralysis where I think I think I need more, right? And I know that I have enough, but I think I need more. I think there's something that I'm not saying, something that I missed. Um, but I've been told many times just to go ahead and release it and then do a follow-up and just
Yeah,
continue with
yeah,
just, more and more, maybe a book for each chapter, going into greater depth in each of those things, with the first book being more of like an introduction to
yeah.
just the thought process around being a professional in real estate.
That's probably good advice, Joanna. I think that's more often than not, you have more than you need instead of having less than you need, right? But
Yeah.
that's your own editing process. All the best with that, Jovan. Jovan, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. I hope that we can get in touch, stay in touch, and maybe do this again sometime in the future.
Yes, I'm here. You can call me back and we'll do another one when I'm director or
Yeah.
VP.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Great talking to you.